Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for joining in and watching our presentation. My name is Ravi Reddy and I'll be representing Syndicate 6 in today's presentation. I share, much like the rest of the members of Syndicate 6, I too share the enthusiasm, the excitement of working, or the possibility of working with Sling Aircraft. For the last 15 years, Sling Aircraft has shown that their passion can truly become a successful and a thriving business, especially in the South African landscape. We've seen it make significant market gains in the US market as well, and we hope that our recommendations, our analysis and evaluations overall will help continue its success and grow in exploratory markets as well. Without further ado, I'll explain what our outline for the presentation will be for today. For starters, we'll talk about our executive summary in a very high level. We'll introduce you to our team, the key challenges that were observed, the analysis overall, as I mentioned before, strategic growth options, and recommendations to finish off. It is no secret that the coronavirus has impacted multiple businesses, and that was certainly the case in the commercial airline space for both the airlines specifically, as well as the manufacturers. The airlines experienced a $372 billion in revenue last year, which is about 60% less than what they earned in the previous 2 years. Manufacturing was not that much different, with an average of 37 billion earned among your top manufacturers in the aircraft manufacturing space. Contrary to this, Sling Aircraft found success with its 4-seater prototype and is clearly looking at expanding its 5-seater product as well, or its potential 5-seater product, I should say. And we felt it would be foolish for us to ignore the prospect of re-exploring the US market as well, for the 5-seater in mind. But with this, we anticipated and we felt that there would of course be problems, as is the case in any business environment. For starters, we've picked up in our analysis of the case study and through engagement with the various stakeholders at Sling that there was a difficulty anticipating the precise number of customer orders and to forecast the number of units required for production. This could be a problem from both a cost management point of view as well as a revenue generation standpoint as well. Certification is an ongoing issue. In the airline industry, certification reigns supreme. It's a lengthy process in terms of time. On average, it takes about 2 years for a plane to be certified or fully certified, and it's certainly a costly endeavor as well. We were very conscious of that, especially when discussing the possibility of focusing on experimental planes, to which end we've decided to veto experimental planes due to the fact there's little demand for it and it's very little use for it, and it's from a resale point of view, it certainly didn't make sense to prioritize all of our resources or pool them specifically for experimental planes. In summary, we felt that the certified planes are the way to go, especially with the US market, our stronghold thereof. However, the challenges weren't just about anticipating customer needs or getting certification for various planes and what have you. We also picked up that there was a talent management problem within the company as well. Particularly from a recruitment selection and talent retention point of view, we were aware of a senior process engineer being fired after only being there for 6 months. Is there perhaps a culture misalignment? Is there values misalignment as well? Those are the questions we've asked ourselves as a team. We also realized that we needed to get the right skilled staff to help enable and push this product through. In addition to that, we also felt from a success planning and a segregation of duties point of view, it wasn't quite well articulated as to who does what in the organization beyond the 3 main founders. Our agent, our distribution agent in Australia, we felt would be a pivotal role in breaking ground in the Australasian market as well. Later on, we'll reveal the highest net worth or net income earners in the Southeast Asia specifically, as well as parts of Saudi Arabia. In summary, we felt that Sling should have two separate companies and businesses alike, one focused specifically on distributors and resellers, and the other business will focus on high net worth consumers, for the 5-seater planes being the marquee product. We firmly believe that Sling can grow from strength to strength, and believe that our expertise can certainly carry them over the line and help them break ground in newer markets, as we mentioned before. This is our team. I won't go into tremendous detail, but every single person here played a pivotal role in the success of this particular presentation. And a number of the challenges that we mentioned were referenced in the executive summary as well. Perhaps the key takeaways from here, once again, is the certification process being quite robust, and the likelihood that the certified, or rather the uncertified experimental planes could potentially dilute the success of the certified planes overall, and perhaps impact our success and bring about further competition for us to contend with. The self-funded nature of the business also needed to change, and that's something that we've debated about as a team. The fact that our founders were kind enough to indicate they would happily part ways with 15 million rands worth of their net earnings was certainly, certainly tipped the cap in their favor. However, there was a further 85 million required from other firms, other entities alike, which can be somewhat problematic considering interest rates as well, with the bank specifically, to which end we'd have to factor in other entities such as private equity firms, public shares as an example as well. From a macro environmental analysis, I think the biggest takeaway, we obviously followed Porter's 5 forces here with substitution, supplier power, buyer power, the intensity of the existing competition, but perhaps the biggest takeaway here is the fact that capital was needed in terms of expansion, in terms of creating a new facility, and of course better equipping us to sell the 5-seater planes eventually. At the end of the day, we need to realize revenue, and that is absolute priority for us. I won't go into tremendous details with our SWOT analysis, but it's pretty obvious that I think the biggest takeaway here is our systems and processes. Despite the introduction of a bespoke ERP system, we needed to seriously consider the revised systems and processes for our customer orders to work in tandem with the ERP and the manufacturing process of these units as well. And as we of course mentioned again, management and segregation of duties remains an ongoing challenge. From a competitor analysis point of view, there are 3 main components here that I'd like to share with you as the audience. Direct competition with our Cessna SR22T with the introduction of Sling, the 5T, the 5CT high wing module at least. Provides ease of use, reliability, and efficient fuel economy. We also felt that the Cessna 182 and 206 were somewhat outdated, and there were legacy items that remained in the industry, and that left a gap for us to potentially break ground in. As we mentioned time and time again, the US market is our priority. We need to ensure that we keep the stronghold going with the introduction of the 4T and the continual success of the 4T and the introduction of the potential 5T with our impending project plan. I won't go into details of the market segmentation and the product lifecycle. We'll speak about it here in more detail. But as you could pick up, that there are plenty of areas of opportunity beyond the US market as well. And our market analysis, the infographic here, reveals the highest net worth or highest net worth individuals within a specific continent or geography. You'll notice that the majority of the high-end income earners are dwelling within the Asian market, and it'll be foolish of us to ignore that prospect considerably. While the US is on the up and up with changes in their political situation, and the economy seems to be thriving once again, China currently has plus 176% based on the slide in front of you. Hong Kong is not that far off with 48%. Japan sitting at 36%. And again, as a reminder, we have a distribution agent based in Australia, or we've picked up that there is a distribution agent in Australia. And with the many successes of the Chinese harbors in Sri Lanka and various other ports of entry within that space, nearing Australia the proximity gives us a very good competitive advantage to enter in those markets, especially in terms of selling kits in the region. From a business model canvas point of view, the key takeaways from here is that there's various channels in which we can market our product. We'll remain in the airshow space, at least social media, using influencer marketing to our advantage, showcasing our planes. Our cost structure also is a main area of concern that, again, the self-funded nature of the business needed to change. And part of the cost of sales is that we have to do a significant number of testing prior to the product being eventually sold to our end consumer. And the certification process is quite a robust and costly endeavor, as we mentioned before. But there's still advantages for potential customers. They get to have a premium product at a lower price than our nearest competitors, and the fact that our process of manufacturing is quite an efficient one puts us in a very good strategic advantage. Playing to win, I won't go through in tremendous detail with the various stages here, but the main takeaway is the capabilities. What capabilities must be in place in order for us to win or to be effective in this market? And the reality is that we need to enable our facility that we will be equipping in the United States to help us with assembly of the 51% of the kit into the finished product. We will, instead of leasing or buying or acquiring a factory to help assemble those planes, we felt it would be frugal for us, or prudent for us, to enable them for success. Our existing partners will be a costly endeavor to set up our own factory over there, to which end we need to help them build a capability. Our partners that are assembling our finished planes in the United States. And once we've deemed success with the 5-seater, we'll certainly do that with the exploratory markets within a 5 to 10 year timeline. In terms of strategic growth options, there are about 4 options here. I won't go through every single one of them, but the other option would be to go the product differentiation route and introduce an electric plane, determine a new product and a new marketing strategy overall. We'd also focus exclusively on experimental planes if the strategy isn't what our founders are looking for. If the experimental plane is something that the business is willing to go the direction of, we'll certainly prioritize that as an alternative. We also felt that medical planes, there's a huge market in Southeast Asia, as well as parts of the African continent, for medical planes in particularly war-torn regions. The cons in that regard is that it's quite capital intensive and requires special designs. In terms of the project valuation, there's two major focal points here. Those are the two curves, the red curve and the green curve. The red curve looks at the ready-to-fly model, whereas the green curve looks at the ready-to-fly model, whereas the red curve examines the ready-to-fly as well as the kit. Now, we've debated whether or not to go with the mixed model approach, and what we found is that by going the mixed model approach, we'll yield some very negative returns and experience significant growth if we focus on the ready-to-fly model. And as you can see, the cash flow is quite impressive. The other takeaways here is that the net profit margin of there will be a net profit margin of 5% and an initial capital outlay of $6 million US. Okay. Here's a recommended organizational structure. Now, you'll notice it'll be considerably different to what it is we've had before. The key takeaway here, the highlighted area, is that there's a shared services, which comprises of HR, finance, procurement, sales, and marketing, which could potentially service the two potential companies, one focus on the high-end consumer for the 5-seater model, and the other our traditional resellers and distributors. Then in terms of recommendations, we also felt that we needed a well-equipped research and development department. We found that one or two of the founders had a focus or focal area in the research and development space, and it's both a good thing and a bad thing. I think this individual will benefit, or the founders will benefit from having a fully equipped research and development team to help carry out the ideas that are internalized and can sort of aid in capitalizing on the vision that's cascaded down to the various cohorts and the team members at Sling Aircraft. Recruitment, selection, hiring process needs to change. There needs to be a value-centered approach in terms of getting the right people on board. There needs to be cost-effective resources as well, because I do recall that one of the key resources that were terminated were coming in at an exorbitant cost as well. Proper forecasting needs to take place in terms of anticipation of customer needs and requirements, as well as manufacturing needs and requirements as well. And we mentioned this before, the implementation of a US sales and marketing office will certainly bode well for the business concern. Colleagues, I'd like to take this opportunity to once again welcoming us to the floor and thank you again for taking the time and listening to our viewpoints, our presentation overall. And I wish you well and continued success, and certainly look forward to working with you should you decide to choose the services of Syndicate 6 in this regard. Thank you.